Okay, so hello everyone. Thanks for joining the live stream. We're just gonna wait a few more seconds until everybody tunes in on the live stream. So just as a heads up, today we're just going to go through a quick kitchen in SketchUp. I just took this image. One second. Okay, so I just took this image from Pinterest, and I kind of like the color palette and the composition and all of that. So what I want to do is just through this image, I want to recreate this is in SketchUp and Enscape. I know I could have just gotten some 3D model from SketchUp Warehouse and just start straight up rendering it in Enscape, but I just want to take some time to actually go through the modeling and maybe just do the live stream a little bit longer so I can share as much information as possible with you. So I'm just going to wait just a few more seconds, or a few minutes. In the meantime, feel free to ask any questions. Also, let me know if you can hear me well and if the music is too loud or any other thing like that. So just please let me know in the comment section in the chat. In the meantime, please also just say hi in the chat and let me know where you're from, where you're watching the live stream from. That's very important for me to know and to kind of get an idea of the demographics of the live stream. That would be great. So in the meantime, I'm just going to search for a few components here. Okay. Hi, Shifana. Did I pronounce that correctly? Hi, welcome to the live stream. Okay, so I just want to first start off with modeling this. I'm not the fastest or most efficient sketch modeler. Hi, Shifana from Dubai. I just visited Dubai like a month or two ago, so very, very nice place. So I just want to get started with the modeling. The thing about the modeling is that I'm not like the most efficient SketchUp modeler, but I'm still okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to get this correct and the exact angle in Enscape for obviously the rendering. So I'm going to open Enscape first. I'm going to leave it here, and then I'm going to go to the visual settings. So the first thing that I want to do is I just want to set up the composition and all the details from the start. So I know that the resolution is 2000 by 2200. It's not the exact one, but it's close to that. And then I'm going to hit the save frame tool. So what the save frame tool does is that it gets the same size and aspect ratio on the window of Enscape onto like the real-time rendering part of it. So I'm just going to make this smaller. So something like this would fit perfectly in our window. And I'm going to get a little bit closer. Now, I'm also going to use this turbo top tool, and what this does is that it keeps Enscape on top of the SketchUp tab. That way the SketchUp tab doesn't close down. So I'm going to use the rectangular tool first, and I'm just going to start off by doing hello from Bali, Indonesia. Hi, Mahaputra Design. Thank you for joining. So I just want to get started with the modeling of the kitchen first. So I will have to do some eyeballing here because I don't have any dimensions or anything like that. I want to kind of get inspired by this picture and just create the render from it. But at the same time, I'm not going to get too attached to it. So if I don't find the same exact chair, I'm not going to waste a lot of time trying to find the same exact one. I'm going to try to find a similar one. So right here, I'm just going to create a rectangular shape here. I'm going to do let's say 240 by 60, which now I believe it's too much, but let's just keep it this way. And then for the height, we're going to do 93 centimeters. So I work in centimeters. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments what units you work in, because that can sometimes make a difference. But for me, the standards of the units where I live are centimeters. So I always keep it at that. And then I'm not sure if I want to divide the kitchen the same way that it is divided here. For example, I know that this is going to be 60 for sure. So 93 by 60. This is one of them. And then obviously we're just going to copy the same line for 1.5 centimeters here. That way we can have a gap. I'm just going to create all the surfaces because we also will have to create the countertop right here, which will be just 3 centimeters. So something like this. And then I can just delete these two lines and get this a little bit outwards. Or at least in this area I won't need to. So only on this side. I'm going to increase it this way to something like, let's say 2.5 centimeters would be fine. And now what I would believe would be good is kind of create the dividing section on this side as well. But I'm not sure if I want to do the same thing as in the picture. Maybe I want to divide it in more regular, but I'll just keep going this way. So I can copy this and then just move it for about 35 centimeters seems fine. And then the other one for about 65 centimeters. And then just another one for another 35 centimeters. So something like this looks pretty similar to the image that we have here. And now what I want to do is also divide this section through this line. So this will be a whole new surface. And then I will extrude it to the top to something around this. Okay, so I'm just going to try and go a little quicker on the modeling because I'm not sure if many of you are watching the live stream for the modeling, but I want to get to the rendering part as quick as possible. That way you can actually learn what you came to the live stream for. So I'm going to do this real quick. And then from here, I'm going to continue working on the kitchen. We will also create the underneath part. So this would be 8 centimeters. And then I will erase all of these lines. That way the extrude works better and it is more efficient. Can someone let me know in the chat if you can hear me well, if the music is too loud or if my microphone is too low or something like that? Just so I can have a heads up of how the audio quality is. Okay, so I'm going to continue with this. I'm just going to continue in this way because this doesn't matter that much. We don't have a lot of the composition view from this one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and create another rectangle from here up to the end. So up to here, and then I'm going to continue this one. Okay, and let me create this underneath section on the kitchen over here as well. And then we can just move on with the rest of the cabinets. Now, I think what's important on the kitchen here is also the material palette, because that is what it's making the image look well balanced. What I think I'm going to change from the image is the backsplash. I don't like it that much. I think it's a bit too irregular. So for example, these textures are a bit too regular, and also I'm not going to do the tiles on the outlines of the flooring. So I'm just going to keep wood flooring all the way through. That is important because a lot of the time you can do all of the settings correctly and all of that in Enscape, but if the project itself doesn't have good materials, good composition, all of that, it's all worthless. So yeah, I'm going to continue with this upper side. So let's create another rectangle to something like 1.5 again. I'm going to erase this and I'm going to push this in just a little bit. So 1.5. Okay, and then I'm going to create another square rectangle to something like this, which will be 60 as well, or 61.5 by 61.5. And now I'm just going to create another divider through these two. So I'm going to select these two lines and I'm going to copy them down for 1.5 centimeters, which I didn't actually do. So yeah, now it's well. Perfect. I'm going to push this in a little bit to something like this. And then I'm going to also add this part of, I'm going to add this part of the cabinets, the wooden part. But what I believe I missed a little bit is that the square should be a little bit more down. Let's first off, I think I'll first off want to place the stove in here, because I can kind of get the idea better on how to place the cabinets above it. I know that there's one that is perfectly squared, and then the dimensions of these one, I totally forgot to put them in. So I'm just going to go in the SketchUp warehouse. I'm going to search for stove. Now, when you're selecting appliances from the SketchUp warehouse, a lot of the time those appliances will just be very plain and just have a texture put on top of them, which isn't the best way possible to import them. Let's try for something a little bit more minimal. So stove in cabinets or something like that. Let's search it. This is not that well, so let's go to products. Always try to first go through the product section on the SketchUp warehouse, because those are the official models that you can find from real firms. So yeah. Hi, Dimensions Engineer Consultancy. Hi. Please let me know where everyone is from that is watching. I would really appreciate that. So let me just import this one, and I'm going to delete some of the parts that we won't actually need. So this stove is pretty close to the one that is on the picture there. So I'm going to delete this part and this part as well. Let's just copy it here. We won't actually need to delete the parts on the back, because there's not much that goes on there, and we can just hide it with the rest of the cabinets. So we can kind of just leave it like this, and then I can delete this part. We won't need that, it won't be seen, and then delete this part as well, and all of this. I would like to delete this section because we won't actually need it that much. So this is the stove, kind of similar to the one that is there. We don't need to do the exact modeling, it's the representation of it, so fun. Our office is located in Sultanate of Oman in the Middle East. Thanks for letting me know. I was close to Oman. I didn't actually visit it, but I was in Align as well, so it's close to that. But I'd love to visit Oman one day. Let me just create another separation here. So 1.5, and then I'll just extend these lines over here. That way it is clear. I don't want to do too much modeling work, especially with kitchens and stuff like this. So whenever we model, our firm always uses ArchiCAD for modeling the raw parts when we're working with clients. But as soon as there is some more complications in terms of the furniture, the kitchen, and all that, we always go to SketchUp. So our workflow almost consists of 4 or 5 tools actually, because we first go to ArchiCAD, then move on to SketchUp, Enscape, and then Photoshop. So yeah. Excuse me. So I'm just gonna leave it to something like this, or actually I want to change the positioning of these two. So let me push this a little bit upwards so it's in the same line, and then we're gonna move it above. Do something like this. Now it will work better for sure. Delete this and then move this back. I also want to make sure that they're pushed the same distance backwards. So something like this. Okay. I'm not sure what this line is doing here, but we won't need that. It will only create confusion. So we'll continue. We'll push this all the way through. What we will also do is create a section like this, and then move it over here as well. And then we will create this wooden part of the cabinets. So I'm going to create a quick dividing section of the surface like this. I will delete these parts, or I'll actually just extrude this and then push it forward. This will need to be pushed backwards as it is in the image. It actually does play a difference, so let me just divide this section first, or push it forward, and then delete this line, and then select this rectangular line, push this forward, delete this. Okay, I'm just going to try and move a little bit more forward and faster with the modeling. So let me just move this further back. I think it's about half the depth, so this will work fine, I guess. Okay, so this is going well. Now what we need to do is also create a dividing section for these drawers as well as the cabinets over here. I mean, these are cabinets as well, but I just call them drawers. Okay, so now we'll move on to this part. I'm going to create another rectangular section from here to this part, so a little bit wider. Let's move it so it is aligned perfectly with the cabinets here. Romana from Romania. Hi Romana, thanks for joining the live stream. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them throughout the live stream. We will take our time here. I'm not going to go super fast. I just want to give the chance to everyone to actually ask any of the questions that I might not be able to answer in like the video, so it's much easier to answer them in real time in the live stream. Okay, so this works fine, but I would actually like to just copy this. So if this is 60, I'm going to copy it here and move it for 60 centimeters again. 60. Again, and then 60 again. Okay, and now without plugin. What do you mean like without plugin? So I'm not too big on SketchUp plugins. I don't do any complex modeling in SketchUp. When we have complex modeling like furniture modeling and all that, I just believe that SketchUp takes a lot of effort and not enough good quality, so we just go straight for 3ds Max. It's faster, it's the industry standard, so yeah. Let me know if you think it would be a good idea and a good fit. Would you want me to make some 3ds Max videos? I kind of want to make a transition in the future to those kind of videos, that rather than just Enscape ones, because honestly Enscape is not the hardest software out there. It's quite easily learned, so you don't need that much work to do to learn Enscape. I believe that you can kind of get, if you're really serious about it, you can learn Enscape in 1 month or so. Like get the best of Enscape in just 1 month. Feel free to let me know for how long have you been using Enscape. It's really interesting to see some of the users that have been here from the beginning, and just kind of see the difference that Enscape has now from rather than from like 4 or 5 years ago. There's still some requests that they've not been able to fully complete with Enscape, but hopefully they get around to do it. So I'm not sure why there's still not any animated people in Enscape. I think that definitely sucks. Like animated people, animated cars, vehicles, that is very needed for animations. And as of now, we don't have that feature. A lot of the real-time rendering softwares do have that feature, but hopefully it will be incorporated for Enscape soon. We're almost done with the modeling. Now what I will also need to do is just divide the sections in this part of the cabinets and in this part of the cabinets. I will also extend this part of the wall here, something like this. And we're gonna move forward with it. So this part looks all right. We'll also need to push down these sections, so something like this. Okay. Let me know, is there any faster way to model this in SketchUp? As I said, I'm not an expert in modeling with SketchUp. It's just that I kind of know the basics and I just work with them because I don't really need much else from it. SketchUp. It is more just a place for me to host. It's just basically a host for my modeling, so I can do the rendering in Enscape. It is not the most practical tool for modeling. The other things that are very nice about SketchUp as well is the Sketch Warehouse. I think a lot of people don't start learning 3ds Max just because they don't have a library that has everything they need, and they have to source a lot of the furniture and a lot of the other stuff. But also the point of 3ds Max is that most of the time it is good practice to model some of your stuff yourself. So yeah, let me just continue this section as well. So these I will just do 60 for all of them, that we can move a little bit faster through this. Just copy this here and then do 3x. Push this backwards like 1 centimeter or something. And then we're gonna do the same for all the little gaps here. Don't forget to do the gaps in the kitchen. And obviously the adds depth and a lot of that. So when applying the textures, it really makes a difference because you can tell that the modeling is realistic. A lot of the time, the only issue with rendering is that the modeling wasn't done properly, but it's also not very easy to go all in and make it a lot more perfect. So I already know just from watching from now, I know that one of the best ways to improve this modeling of the kitchen is if you would use a bevel on all of the corners of the modeling, but I kind of don't always take that extra mile with SketchUp. If that was available, I mean, if I was doing this in 3ds Max, that would be much easier with the bevel modifier. But SketchUp definitely incorporates a lot of other tools, like other plugins and all that, and I'm just not very big on that. So I'll just continue with this. Create another surface here. So 60, and then just copy it all along. 5x, boom, and then push it forward, backwards, and then we can just move on. What do you think is like the biggest challenge when rendering? Do you think materials are hard to get right? Do you think the lighting is the challenge in the rendering? Or do you think the composition? Like, just let me know what you struggle with the most in rendering, because I myself definitely believe that one of the biggest struggles or the hardest part to get right in rendering is the lighting, because with the materials, so Elisa is saying if you use the push-pull tool, then double click on the next element, it will remember how much you pushed or pulled based on the last one, so you don't have to keep referencing the same length every time. Okay, let me try that. So I'm just going to do this. So let's just say I'm going to push this one. I'm going to reference this one to the other one. And then from the next one, I just double click it. So something like this. Oh, okay. Okay, this is much easier. Thank you, Alyssa. This is nice. So I also get to learn a lot from you guys, so I appreciate it. As I said, I'm not a native SketchUp modeler, so yeah. Okay, so let me see if I can get a good composition angle from this kitchen. We also will need to add a floor, so I will just put this down. Lighting and angle of perspective. So the lighting and then composition. I believe the composition obviously is not the easiest thing. It's not something that it is kind of trained, but you can also kind of learn some composition theory if you just want to do basic parts of composition. So you can kind of learn the rule of thirds, you can learn the centering rule, you can learn the following the lines rule for the composition, so setting up the perspective as you said. But lighting is always different in every single case, and that's why I believe it's harder. For the materials, you can just use PBR materials, you can just import all the maps and then the materials are ready to use. And then you also have the Enscape material library, you can just do that very quick. And then Kevin is saying lighting and the angle. Oh, okay, I read that one. And then in Enscape, the lighting can be challenging, but with practice, it can be done well. Angle of perspective can be challenging, especially for interior design work. Yeah, Enscape lighting can be challenging, especially with the reflection. I'm not sure why they're not adding a feature where you can actually just make it visible or not visible, because a lot of time when I use fill lighting, that doesn't actually exist. So I use fake lighting, and then I have a reflective material like the floor or a mirror or something like that. That light always shows up and it always ruins the render. So I just think that feature needs to be fixed ASAP in Enscape. The angle, fabrics and lighting. Yeah, some of the fabrics and lighting, I mean, some of the fabrics are hard to get right in Enscape. The reason being is that Enscape doesn't offer multi-map material configuration, so you cannot use a normal map, a bump map, and a displacement map all at the same time, so it's a lot harder to get it right. And until they fix that, I don't think a lot of the materials will look the best possible way. But I still keep using Enscape because I just like the ease of use that it has, and it's because quick. I honestly believe that anyone who's just starting out rendering, the best software out there is, for starters, I mean, is probably Enscape, because it's just way too easy. The workflow is a no-brainer, and yeah. Okay, let's just move on with our modeling. I'm gonna make a group of this. I'm gonna push this upwards, and then create a rectangle from here. So this will be the ceiling of our image. I'm going to close this down, and then what I will do is I will act as if we have a window here. So a lot of the scenarios in the project you work in might have a window right where I'm leaving an opening. It might not be this big, but there definitely is a window. So something like this, let's say. Then I will push this up, and then push this up from this side as well. Now let me just take a look on the composition and the perspective. So some of you just mentioned the angle of perspective. First thing that you want to do is make sure that the projection is set at 2-point perspective. That didn't make much of a difference in our image, but let's say we had another angle that we had to take this on. As you can see, the vertical lines are still vertical and straight, but if we keep it at 3-point perspective, you can see how the image gets distorted. So always make sure that you do 2-point perspective on your composition. And then I just want to make sure I turn the sun brightness at 0. I never use the sun brightness, or very rarely use the sun brightness in interior images. And then what I will also want to do is make the field of view to something like 60, move a little bit backwards. Let me just reference the image that we had here. So I'm going to keep it opened on another tab. I'll just say this from SketchUp. Honestly, the navigation in SketchUp is so, I don't know why they make it so hard for the users. So the composition right here is pretty similar to what we have here. I mean, the angle and all this. So I'm just going to create a view real quick, and then later on we can adjust it so it's not a big deal. So I'm just going to create this view. I'm also going to use the Turbo Top tool just so we can have the Enscape tab on top. And we're gonna move on with our project. I will also add 2 section planes. That way it is easier to navigate while we work. But in the final rendering, of course, we won't have the section planes turned on. Let's add another section plane from the top, and then we'll switch between those however we need the view to be. So let's lower it down a little bit. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is I'm going to try and find a dining table in the SketchUp warehouse. So in the SketchUp warehouse, I'm going to search for round dining table, and we're going to try and find a similar one. Let me just take a look at this. This seems pretty close to the one that we have here. This would work well. I mean, we can use a combination of this one and that one. We can use the legs of the table from this one and then incorporate it onto that one. So let me just import it real quick. So somewhere here, and then move it backwards, move it down. Let's just see if we can capture a good image from this. So it is something like this. It is similar to this. It's not the same exact one, but it is similar to this. Let's keep the chairs. They don't look that bad as of now. We can change them later on. But what we need to change is the top part of the table. We definitely need to make this bigger. Something like this is much better. And then we can just create a quick chair arrangement. So let's just move this a little bit backwards, a little bit more closer to the table. Maybe not that much. And then we can place another one on this side as well, and then move it a little bit over there. Let me rotate it once again. Let's just take this accessory off the table completely. And then what we will need is some pendant lighting. Maybe I choose some different kind of pendant lighting, maybe not that exact one, but we can definitely go and search for those in the SketchUp warehouse. So pendant lighting or pendant light. These are kind of the same style as those. Let me just search for something a little bit different. Does anyone know the exact name that these lights are called? So like these type of lights. I know they're pendant light, but I'm not sure if they have like an exact term that you would use to call those lights. I'm not gonna spend too much time trying to find it, so I'm just gonna use these ones. These ones I believe will work fine as well. Obviously I will make the height and the changes on the modeling as per the image that we have there, but nothing too drastic. So I'm just going to take this completely off. I will use these 3 lights. I'll move one of them a little bit higher. Something like this. Let me just check. Just move this a little bit upwards, and then this one a little bit closer. And now we have the 3 lights almost in the same configuration as in the image. Let me just move it a little bit onto the right. Okay. Let's delete this one and then move it right on top of the table. That way it actually looks like it belongs there. I think they're a little bit too big. Let me just make them smaller, move them a little bit backwards. And now what I want to make sure we get correct before even moving with image, I'm going to open the material editor. I'm going to choose this one. I'm going to make it self-illuminated. And I think it looks fine like this. So not this color. Let me turn this up a little bit. Something like this is all right, I guess. Now what I want to do is I probably would want to use this chain, this fencing thing, and then use the cutout, but I'm not sure if it is already applicable here. But yeah, I mean, this looks all right. Obviously the surface is not very well placed onto the object, but we can try to place it once again. So something like this. Can you even tell from the angle that we're watching, I mean, we're seeing the render? I don't really think so. I mean, it looks fine from this angle. So we're just gonna keep it at that. Okay, so let's just continue with the rest of the image. Let me just move this outwards. That way we can reference it a little bit easier. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to use the Turbo Top tool to keep the Enscape tab opened on top once again. So yeah. Why isn't it working? Let me check if it's going to work now. What? I think in the new update, Enscape fixed this, but for some reason, I don't use the latest update because of all of the bugs that it has. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but the new updates on Enscape have a lot of bugs in terms of like the materials and all of that, because it just messes up your whole workflow. Because if you import a material, it's not going to show up directly here, but it's going to show up in the in model section, and that is very weird. Let me just take 1 second. I'll be right back. I'm just going to go grab a bottle of water just real quick. So yeah. Can you hear me again now? Or is it loud? Can you hear me now? Is everything correct in the live stream? Let me just move on and find the flooring material here in Enscape. So I'll probably use let me just try and find the one that I'm looking for. So let me try and use the herringbone one. So wood 13 it is. I'm going to apply it onto the floor, but I will want the orientation on this side. Thank you for letting me know, Anmol, or I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but hopefully I didn't butcher that. So I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, something like this. And what I would like to do is I would like to change the color between the wood on the floor as well as on the table. So let me just keep the Enscape tab on. I want to make the wood on the floor a bit lighter, so something like this. Let's see if it's going to work well. Okay, and then for the wood on the table, I'm going to go ahead on the Enscape material library once again, and I will choose this one. We can modify it later if we don't like it, but it's going to be fine for this one, I think. Let's just leave it like this, but I will change, obviously I will make it metal on here, all metal, but all black. And then let's see the configuration on this. Yes, so it's working all right. Now, let me check if I can do just a little bit of lighting configuration. Yeah, the angle of perspective, so the field of view, if that's what you're referring to. I always kind of try to keep it at 60 degrees for interiors, but obviously that can change. The field of view isn't something fixed, so yeah. Let me move it a little bit upwards, something like this. Move it a little bit on the left. Let's turn on the luminous power. Let me turn it backwards. I will also try to use some spotlights and try to switch between the spotlights and the rectangular light in this interior image. So we're going to 5x that, and then we're going to do 4 more vertically. Move it a little bit backwards. Change the angle, make the beam angle as wide as possible, and then let's just try and turn on the intensity. So something like this, I think will look all right, but obviously we'll do a lot more work to actually get it perfect. Okay, now let's take a look at the reference image and to what we're missing. So we're missing some of the accessories, obviously on the table, on the countertop, maybe some details on the stove, the materials and all of that. So now we're just going to continue adding the materials onto our image. Let's just add a plaster because that is pretty standard. We can find it pretty easily in the Enscape material library. We're going to go right here. I like to use plaster 04 sometimes, and then we'll just apply it on this surface and on this surface. The displacement is a little bit too much though, so maybe not on the ceiling. Maybe for the ceiling I will try to use the plaster 03. So something like this works okay. And now what I want to do is I'm going to continue to add the material on the kitchen cabinets. So for the kitchen cabinets, I'm not sure the exact color that is used, but what I will try to do is I will try to find a similar one, and then through the material editor I will try to actually match it. So right here I will need to create another surface, delete it, and then move it, push it backwards, so we won't actually need this. Let's just use this real quick. Okay, and then we'll do the same on the other side. We're just going to add another rectangle right here and then push it. Okay, so the modeling is a little bit more fixed now. Now I'm just going to go ahead and apply the material all the way around. So it will be applied here. I know the color is not the right one as of now, but I'll make sure to get the right one later on. So I'm going to use a double tip, the double click tip that one of you just showed me earlier in the chat, which seems to be very useful. Let's continue. I will just apply this on all of the cabinets real quick. Let me try just to match a little bit closer since we're here. Let's make the roughness a little bit lower, that way it is more reflective. So 40% is okay, I guess, but we will make some changes on the material soon. Let's apply it here as well. Okay, you can use color picker extension to match this color. Okay, so let me just try and download an extension. So for the color picker extension, I would need to go to the extension warehouse, right? Because I don't do that much of plugins and extensions on SketchUp. So color picker, not much here, but you can let me know in the chat later on how I can get that, and then I will try to use that tool. Maybe it is useful, maybe I need to get some more extensions in SketchUp. Maybe it will ease up my workflow. But as I said earlier, I do most of the modeling, like most of the complex modeling in 3ds Max. So yeah, let me just move this backwards. Okay, I think we're not far off with the color that we have now. It's not the right one, but we're definitely not very far away. I think this one is a little bit like this and maybe has lower saturation. Let's try saturation of 3. Oh, so you mean like I can use the eyedropper tool from, okay. So The extension is in Google Chrome. Yes, I know those kind of extensions. So to actually find the color, I can also use like Illustrator, where I can just import the image and then actually select it and find the hex code. But obviously that won't be very accurate because the lighting is different. So the color value is very different from here to this one. We'll keep it like this as of now. I think it's not that far away. We can definitely get it closer, but it's not that bad as of now. So we just continue to apply this, and then when we want to make the changes, we can make them all together. I'll apply it all around. Is there any other way to actually apply textures faster in SketchUp? I know if I actually grouped the modeling correctly, I would actually be able to do it much faster, because when you don't have a material assigned, you can just click on them without, as long as they're grouped, and then you can apply the material on it with just one click. And then underneath, I think, yeah, it's the same green color. Let me just see if I need to apply some more textures here as well, on this side. And then I think, can you export from 3ds Max to SketchUp? Yes, you can export from 3ds Max to SketchUp, and that's how most of the people get the high quality furniture into SketchUp. You can, I think, export from 3ds Max as an object or a 3D. So we can just check it right now as we speak. So if I go to import, you can see that the supported file types. So the file types, so the 3ds files, these are 3ds Max files. So yeah. Play with Control and Shift while on the bucket tool, so the new material applies on the one you're trying to change. I'm not sure what you mean by this. So Control, Shift. So if I do this one, what do the control? Does anyone know what the Control key and the Shift key does in the bucket tool? Because I haven't actually used it as of now. Hi, Michael or Michelle, or that live is save up. I'm not sure what you're referring to here, but anyway, now we're also going to try and find another wood texture. I'm actually going to go to ambientcg.com and try to find a texture on there, because I feel like the wood textures in Enscape are not the best as of now. Some of them definitely need a little bit more tweaking. Are you using an HDRI? I haven't actually imported an HDRI yet in this image, but maybe we apply an HDRI later on. I don't think we will actually need it, but maybe we can try and do that. I definitely want to lower the displacement on this plaster tool though. So I will select this, and I will make the bump map lower, because that's just way too much. Let's go back to our view, use Turbo Top to keep it on top, and we move on. One second. Let me just get this right. Okay. So what we were left with was the wood texture that we're going to use for these cabinets as well as the countertop. I think it is the same wood texture. I'm not sure why the auto synchronize was on, but we don't actually need that. Keep it at this angle, keep this selected, go to Turbo Top, and just keep this on top all the time. Okay. So now we need to find a wood texture that we can apply for the countertop as well as for these cabinets. As you can see, they have the same texture applied to them. We'll also need to import some models like these outlets as well as some accessories. I mean, some of the accessories for the kitchen. But we'll see how this goes. So I'm going to go to ambientcg.com. I'm going to go to materials and just use or search for wood and something that would fit the cabinets as well as the countertop. Let me just go and scroll through this. By the way, a lot of people think that I sponsor like Ambient CG and a lot of these other sites that I always recommend to you guys, but I was never even contacted by them or anything like that. So I'm not sponsored by Ambient CG or any other thing like that. So this has some scratches on top of it, which we don't actually need on a countertop right now. I think I saw a good texture a little bit more upwards, so maybe I can use this one, or maybe I can use this one and change the color of it later, or this one seems a little bit more suitable. So let me just go and download it as a 2K JPEG. And then from here, I will just leave it on the desktop where I can find it quicker just for the live stream. Apply here, open the SketchUp tab. I'll move this a little bit onto this side. And then I will import a new material in SketchUp. I will go where I just put it in, take this, and then I'm going to apply it to these parts. So can someone in the comments let me know what you meant with the control key and the alt key when applying the textures? Okay, so this is not what we need. I'll just do it the classic way, the way I do it. So I don't experiment too much with it. Let's apply it on these ones. Okay, so for this one it is much better. So for this one it is much quicker. Now we definitely need to change the color of it. So let's make it a little bit lighter. Let's go a little bit on this side. Make it a little bit more orangish. So something like this looks okay. Maybe a little bit more saturation. What we'll definitely do is we'll also add the maps on the reflections. Let's just take off the plaster map. I'm not sure why that was imported in the first place. We will add the displacement real quick. This is way too much. Let's do 0.5. Uh, 0.2 on this. And then what we will also do is add a roughness map on this. So 0.05. And then just add a roughness map here. And now it will also have some reflection applied to it. Okay. We can just keep this on top. I think we're getting closer to what we want to achieve here. I believe that the image will turn out well. Now what we're going to do, I think I want to move on to some like importing of some more assets, because we definitely need this part here as well, this part here. So I'm just going to go in the sketch warehouse and I'm going to import a kitchen sink. I'm just going to take this one straight away because the modeling on the kitchen sink isn't very like it's not anything too complicated, so I don't think it will even make a difference which one we choose. Plus, from our angle, we won't be able to see it that much. So let's just turn this around, go a little bit backwards. Let's just move this down. Okay. So I'm going to leave the sink here. I will create a gap where the sink is. I will push this part down. The tap is way too big, so I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to move it a little bit forward. What I think would look well is that if we have these lights that like with a brass material, so if we apply a brass material on these lights as they have right now, we can either leave the whole like the tap and all of that with a brass material as well. I'm not sure why this isn't looking that good, so let me just change the color. Or we can just leave it like the black right here, the same as the sink. I think I'm just going to go with this one. And then what I will also try and do is let me just try and find stove. So this one is perfect for what we need here. And then we'll also need to find a ventilator for above the stove. I'm still not sure if I want to leave the sink like a black though, because I think it just looks way too much. It does add some contrast, but it also catches way too much attention. So let me rotate it over here. Okay, so this is much better. And then we just need finally a ventilator. So kitchen, ventilator, or ventilation. I want something more slim. These are way too old, I think. Okay, so this one is much better. I'm just going to take this one, and then I will add it in. I'm very interested to see what kind of sink color they used in the image that we have, in the image that we're referencing from Pinterest. Let's just go a little bit closer. I'm going to pick this color, and then what I will do is I'll do the metallic slider at 100 and this at 40. Let me go back to the image real quick and just see what we have here. So the sink is metallic there, the same as the hood. So I'm just going to change that real quick. I will choose it, go a little bit more white, go a little bit on this side as well. Let's make it metallic as well, 100% metallic, and then 30% on the roughness slider. We're going to do the same with the sink, which it already has it applied. Do you have any questions as of now? Please let me know in the chat. I will be happy to answer them. Also, do any of you have any so for the next live stream, what I want to do is I want you to send me your renders at info@scale3d.org. So send your renders for send. Let me just write this in the chat. So if you go to the chat right now, you can find our email. So you can send your renders there. And what I usually do in some of the live streams, I will choose some of your renders and then I will review them live. We can discuss what looks good, what I think would need a little bit more tweaking. Or if you also want to, you can also send the SketchUp file and maybe I can go, maybe I'm not giving you a promise here, maybe I can go through it in one of the live streams, so we can just go a step-by-step thing on the SketchUp file in a live stream like this. So go in the chat and you can find the email. It is info@scale3d.org and you can send it through on the email, so your renders. Okay, so let's continue. I wanted to find some tiles for the backsplash. So obviously I don't need anything too complicated. I think I'm just going to choose these tiles, apply them, and maybe I can just change the size of it. Oh, okay. So these were applied on the whole wall now. So I will need to reselect this surface with a rectangle. Now we apply them. And now we just need to do the same on this side. What I think would be better if we make them just a little bit larger, or maybe make them like square, so something like this. Now I'll just leave them at default. I think it looks alright with default. What I would do is, let me just check the displacement. Maybe I can do it a little bit lower, so 0.1. Let me just get closer. And this looks fine. I mean, it's not the best. Let me just check another tile option here. Yeah, I think if you can send your renders for review for the next live stream, I think it would be a great live stream. That way we can interact even more, and we can share our opinions for the live stream. It will always also be more kind of a Q&A live stream as well. So yeah. Let me just move this one. I want the texture positioning to be perfect. Something like this, and a little bit bigger. A little bit bigger as well. So, okay. I choose this, apply here, move it downwards. Okay. Let me check the SketchUp tab. I mean the Enscape tab. Go to Turbo Top and use this. I think it's much better and cleaner if we use these tiles rather than the subway tiles that we had earlier. I think the gaps are a little bit too big and they kind of they get a lot of the attention, but I'll just leave it like this, and then if you have a suggestion, just let me know and we can check it out, replace it, see if it looks better or anything like that. We'll also want to make some changes on the floor material. Let me just turn it to default and reset the color altogether and just make it a little bit less saturation, make it a little bit brighter. This doesn't actually look the best. Let me just tweak it a little bit more. I'm going to go to ambient CG once again. So as you can see, we cannot always find all the materials that we need in the Enscape material editor. So I'm just going to go to wood floor. And then this one looks interesting, but we're not going to choose that one so quick. These one looks nice. These ones look nice, but the color, I don't like it. This one is all right. So there's a lot more options, as you can see, on the online websites rather than the Enscape material library. So let's just take some more time to just view this. These have too much division between them. Maybe I choose this one and change the color. I'm not sure. I'm gonna go for this one, I think, because I can just make it a little bit more vibrant and it will look great. So I'll open this and then paste it onto the desktop. That way I can find it a lot faster. So I can already see that some emails have come through for the Enscape review. I think this is a great opportunity because I'll definitely make sure to see every single one of your renders carefully. I will try my best to review all of them, and we can all do it live while you can ask questions. So yeah. Let me try to apply the material that we just imported. I'll also need to change the bump maps and all of that. So this will be displacement map. We'll change it here. This will be 0.5. That is still too much. Now 0.08. This is much better. Let's also change the roughness to this. Make it a little bit more specular. Change the tint color to what it previously had. Change the size. Let's make it a little bit smaller, so 70. It looks better. I'm still not happy with the color of this wood material. Let me just reset it all together. I think I'm going to try and find another wood material just from the Enscape material library, because maybe I don't have to find this zigzag kind of pattern. Maybe I just go for something simpler. Let me try the chevron one, so the wood 06. Let me just delete this and then apply the wood 06 from Enscape. Okay, I like this one. Even though it's dark and I wasn't going for this texture previously, I still think this darker color looks nice. I'm gonna try and make it a little bit brighter. This doesn't look that bad actually. I kind of like this one. Maybe a little bit more saturation. This looks alright. I just think now we need to populate the scene more with some accessories. What I'm also not very happy with is the backsplash tiles. Do you have any suggestions? Do any of you have any suggestions regarding the backsplash tiles? Because they just look way too big as of now. Or maybe what we can do is I will go to the Enscape material library once again. I'll go to tiles once again. Maybe I can do something the same as in the image. Even though I said I don't like those that much, I still think they look better than the ones that I had applied. So let me go to tiles. These are quite similar to the ones that are here. So let's just try them real quick. Move them a little bit upwards, something like this. And the same thing on this side. And then what we will do is let's open the Enscape tab, click on it, turbo top. We'll also need to change the color because obviously there's no way I will keep them that dark. And this looks much better. I think this looks much better. What I need to do also is turn up the specular option a little bit. And maybe tone down the roughness. Let's try and do the normal map. Or maybe a displacement. Displacement is way too much, so something like this. I think I will leave them like this. This is definitely better than what we had previously. So I'm just going to click off, and now we're just getting closer and closer to what we want to achieve. Now what I will want to do is I will go and find some kitchen accessories. So I'm just going to type in the the Sketch Warehouse kitchen accessories. I think there's some nice ones here. So let's just go with this one and see what we can find. These are more furniture rather than accessories. Let's see here what we can find. So not much, not anything of interest there either. Let's go for these ones. I think there's only plates there, but it's fine. What do you think of the image as of now? What do you think are the aspects that we will need to make changes on? That way the image looks to what we have here. I think I will also change the material of one of the chairs. Other than that, we're going to see step by step. What do you think will make the image better in the end? I'm really interested to see your thoughts on this. I think I can get some input from you. What I will also suggest you to do as well is whenever you create images, even if someone is not an expert in rendering, which I'm not saying you guys aren't, even if someone is not an expert in rendering, sometimes other people's opinions can help you. Not always, obviously. I'm not saying just ask for opinions all the times and take that as direction for your renders, but a lot of the times, even people who are not that familiar with this field will have some things to point out because they're looking at it from a different eye rather than how we view them every day. So yeah, I'm going to try and find some accessories from the Enscape asset library. Maybe some plates, something similar to that. Maybe just these ones. So a bowl stack right here. I will also want to get maybe get a coffee machine on this side. I'll rotate it on the right direction. So something like this. Move a little bit backwards, that way it is more subtle. And then from here, what I will do is I will go ahead and search. I think there's some bowls with fruit in the Enscape asset library. I think we can slowly look for it and find them. Apples. I think there's a bowl of apples, which are quite good models. So let me just search apple. So yeah, I was just looking for this one. I'm going to apply it here and then rotate it a little bit. Okay, let me just check the image and what we had placed here. So there's some glasses. I think this is way too cluttered. I think I will add some plates. Dining table accessories. Let me just search it here. Dining table accessories. And then I will also add a plant here or something like that. So yeah. Plates. Nothing I'm looking for. I think this is alright. Do we need a cloth underneath? I don't think so. We can also make, I think it will make a difference if I make this part of the table slimmer. So if I go here and I push this upwards, something like this would look better, as well as if I make it darker. Okay, let's try it darker a little bit. Not that much though. Okay, something like this is all right. I think this works fine. And now what I want to do is I want to rotate the plates the right way, and I also don't want to make them look identical. So let me just copy it here, rotate it on this side, and just leave them. So something like this. Okay, I'm struggling a little bit with the navigation in Enscape, obviously you can tell. I mean in SketchUp. But I mean, that's fine. I still think we'll get the right results in the end. Let me just make these, I don't want these black, I want them more metallic. So I'm gonna go ahead in the Enscape material editor, and I'm going to turn up the metallic slider up at 100%, and I'm gonna tone down the roughness at 30%. And these look much better and more realistic. Now what I want to do is I want to apply a leather material on one of the chairs and just see how that will look. So I'm going to go to fabrics, and then I think we can find leather a little bit more down. So let's try this one, the black one. I'm going to take this, and then hopefully the chairs aren't an instance. It doesn't seem like it, and I will apply a leather material. Okay, so they're an instance, so I'll have to make them unique. So I'll go here. Okay, make unique. No, I don't like this. I'm not sure. I think only one of the sides is an instance. So let me just go back a little bit. Let me just select it once again, make unique. So this one is unique. I'll apply this, and then I'll apply this. This looks much better. Let me also just check the chairs that we had here. I think this had a little bit more reflection, or maybe the rotation on the chair was that way, that it gave some reflection. So let me just rotate it a little bit too. I think this looks more similar to what we have over there. Okay, so I think in terms of the modeling and in terms of what we had to import, we are almost done here. Now what we have to take care of is the lighting. So first off, what I know for sure that we will need to add on is this line light over here, or we can use a rectangular light, because light line sometimes it's bugging out when you have to copy multiple instances of them and they interfere with one another. So let's make the width smaller. I'm going to take this here and place it on the corner. Okay, let me just make it like this. Maybe that is way too large. Just move a little bit more forward, and then I'll just copy it. So let's do 8x. I can move this to the edge, that way we don't have a bad reflection. And then for these lights, what I like to do is I like to apply one of the colors that is here. I think it's CO2 or CO3, so I think CO2. So this is warmer, and it just looks nicer all along these lights. By the way, if any of you are wondering why I'm using the rectangle lights once again, it is because sometimes in Enscape, when you use the line light and then you have to copy it, and then the light lines interfere with one another, the lighting doesn't show up very correctly. So that is the reason why. I'm going to copy it over here. I'll rotate it real quick, so something like this. And we'll just move it on the back. Okay, so that looks pretty good. This part looks nice. What I also want to do now is I want to apply the same wood material on these chairs. The wood material that we have on the table, I want to apply it on the chairs as well. So something like this. But I will also want to tone down, I just want to fade them away a little bit, because the texture is just way too harsh. And now I want to also add a plant on this side. So let's see. I think plants always give interiors more life. As soon as you add the plant in your interior rendering, the whole mood is set differently. So yeah, I'm just going to type in interior plant, that way we can find it faster. Plastic. Yeah, I use plastic. I don't really care. Do what you want with it. So yeah, I'm just going to go and scroll down a little bit. And I just set up this new computer because I usually always download the offline asset library in Enscape. That way you don't have to take much time when you're scrolling through the whole asset library. It is much faster. And as you can see right now, it's just taking ages to load the vegetation, which I'm actually not patient enough with. It's going all one by one, and I actually hate this. I just need to go faster. But anyway, let me just analyze a little bit more of the lighting while we wait here. So when you want to analyze the lighting, one good practice is to turn on the light view. So with light view, you can tell if the image is pretty balanced. And as you can see, our image is pretty balanced, but what is missing though, I think it's missing a little bit of contrast and a little bit, I think, some more lighting that is closer. So don't get me wrong, it looks okay. It is fine. I also think we need to tone down the displacement on the ceiling there. So I'm going to turn this off once again. I'm going to open the Enscape material library. I'm going to choose this and I will tone this down to 50. Let's see if this looks better in the Enscape tab. And that definitely made a difference. So what I think would be nice here is I will add that plant, and then I will also try to make the lighting a little bit brighter. And we'll also play a little bit with the visual settings, which won't be an issue. So let's try and see if the Enscape asset library actually loaded anything here. It just keeps on taking ages and ages. This is so annoying. I actually hate this. Like, this is not fun at all. So I don't need any of these plants. I just need an interior plant, and I have to wait for all of these plants to load up until we finally get there. I'm sure it will be worth it. Yeah. Anyway, let me know if there's any new viewers that just joined the stream earlier. Let me know where you guys are from and where you're watching the stream from. You can search for pot for interior plants. Yeah, I do that a lot. I combine, like, I can just search a pot in the SketchUp warehouse. I totally forgot the name for a minute. And then I just add another plant that is not actually very interior from Enscape and then put it on. But I can also get plants from the SketchUp warehouse. But it just takes a lot more space and it's not worth it. But I think I'm going to do it right now because this scene is not that heavy anyway. So I'm just going to search interior plants. Let's try and find an interior plant that is actually high quality. So if you want to find high quality stuff, you can always use this polygons filtering. So usually the higher the polygon, the more detailed the modeling will be. So if I go to something like this, there will be better and better quality of plants that will show up. So let me just try and choose this one and see how this will act in our scene. Okay, so it loaded up pretty fast. It will just take a little bit of time to show up in the window. Click OK. And I'm not sure where this even is. So for some reason it is rotated. I'm going to delete everything around it. I will just take the plant, move it and place it where I want it to be placed. I usually don't do this. So this is something that I probably never, I mean, not never, but 90% of the renders, I always use the Enscape material. I mean, the Enscape asset library for all the plants. because they look alright and they don't take much space. Let me just move it a little bit backwards. What I want to do is maybe tone down the leaf. Like, I don't want the leaf material to be this vibrant. So maybe if I tone down the saturation a little bit. I'm not sure if it's affecting only one leaf. Leaf 2, okay. So if I tone down the saturation to something like 30, this looks a little bit more balanced. Let's try to change it for this one as well. 30 on this one, and then I think there's a final one here. The bucket tool is not showing up the eyedropper, so for this one as well, leave 3, we will do 30. And now let's see if it's actually okay, so it's foliage, so that is correct. This plant here is giving it a little bit more life, but I think it's getting too much attention, so I'm going to put it a little bit here, that way it is a little bit more subtle. So yeah, or do I want to take that off completely? I'm actually not sure. About that. I think I'm just gonna take that off completely. I know it took so much time, but I'm actually not just going to use that. Hi everyone, I'm from Antibes in France. Thank you so much for your share. Thank you for joining in. My pleasure. Let me just move this a little bit here. Okay. So this will provide some shadows and some depth, which I think is good. Let me try and move this rectangular light a little bit more forward. And let me just see if I can change the luminous intensity. I think I want to change a little bit of the visual settings, and then we will pretty much be done here. So the rendering quality will go up to ultra. We will make the image in auto contrast, or we can turn on the highlights a little bit more, tone down the shadows, or maybe turn up the shadows, which looks much better. I think this has more contrast and it looks better. We will do the saturation at 107. Maybe the shadows are a bit too much. And then the color temperature. The color temperature is fine at default. We'll turn all of these at 0, 0, 0. The vignette will keep it. It adds a little bit of more dramatic kind of vibe to it. Hussein Abdullah, hello sir, good day. Hello to you too, Hussein. I'm going to turn down this night sky brightness, shadow sharpness. We want the shadows as soft as possible. And then I will also turn up the ambient brightness. And that's pretty much it in terms of the visual settings. Now there's also a few things that I want to change. I want to add some ceiling lights here and here maybe, so some recessed ceiling lights. And I also want to turn up the luminous intensity on this material. So I'm going to go a little bit closer. I'm going to select the material here. And I will turn it on a little bit. And then I will click once again, and it looks much better like this. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead in the SketchUp warehouse, and I will search in recessed lighting. So let me just try and find a single one. So something like this works fine. And then I will make it white because black is just, it just takes too much of attention. I'm not sure where is the best place to put it, but I will test a few things out. Let me see on this tab. These are way too big though. So let me just take this off, make this a little bit smaller, because that is just way too much. Hi Enscape. So Enscape has joined the live stream. The official channel of Enscape has joined the live stream, as you can see. Thank you for joining. I appreciate the support. Everyone can take the chance to ask any questions they want to in the live stream, and maybe someone from the Enscape team will also assist me to take a look at it. So someone said, can I ask how to adjust the shadow under like the table or something in the model? You can add fake lighting. So I will take a look at that just 1 second to actually reply to your question. So let me just turn on landscape. So let's say there was some weird shadows casting underneath. I will just add the rectangular lighting here, something like this, and then this will kind of light up that part. Or you can also change the angle of it. So yeah. Someone said, thanks for this tutorial. It's Leonard Drill. Thanks for this tutorial. I'm working on a kitchen project for a friend, and this helps a lot. Glad this helps, and what a nice thing that I actually picked the kitchen project for this live stream. You're a big help for us who's learning. Appreciate your effort. Greetings from the Philippines. Thank you, Arky Boy. I appreciate it. It's very nice to see comments like this. This is obviously the reason why I try to give back to the community as much as possible. Let me just make this white, as I said earlier, so this will be all white. I will move this maybe closer to something like this. I will create a rectangle, push this backwards. And then I will also choose this glass part, and what I want to do with this is I'll just choose this, I'll go to self-illuminated, and I'll turn this on with this light. So I'll just copy this on here as well on this other side. And I think I'll move it a little bit closer to the other one, and it will look much better. Lighting tips are the most useful for me. Always have a struggle making lighting look more realistic. Greeting from Poland, and keep up the good work. Thank you. I actually want to make a lot more lighting tutorials on the channel. One of the lighting, I'm not sure if you've actually seen this. I'm going to open it on the tab right now. So one of the most viewed videos on this channel is the lighting tutorial that I did for Enscape. So this one, I'm not sure if you can see it on the stream. If you haven't already watched it, you can definitely watch this video. A lot of people found it helpful. But yeah, I will definitely keep on posting a lot more lighting videos in the future though. So let me just turn this back up. And I think this looks much better. Now what I would also believe would look good is if I had a carpet underneath the dining table. And if I also fade down a little bit on the wood that is on the kitchen cabinets. So if I choose this wood material here. Okay, it's great that you saw that. That is one of the most helpful tutorials that I've put on this channel. So yeah. Something like this looks better a little bit. So let me just try turning it back up. Something like this looks much better on those cabinets. And now what I will do is I will go to the Enscape asset library once again, which I really don't want to do because it's just taking so much time for it to load. And I would search for rug. And I will just choose one that has neutral colors, so nothing too crazy. I haven't tried this one yet. I think this is a new asset that they put in. This would look fine, I guess. I'll just move it a little bit over here, that way it doesn't catch too much attention. And I believe the scene looks much better now. Is there anything else that you think will make this render look better, or anything else that you would like to add onto this scene? Because as I see right now, it is looking alright. Obviously there's some details that I'd like to change. For example, I'd want this stove to be a little bit more detailed with the modeling and all of that, but it's not that it's looking awful. Something that I'm just seeing that we totally forgot is to do the dividing on this part as well. Your oven interior looks a bit wooden. Yes, yes, Lana, it does look a bit wooden because I applied the wood material. So yeah, 100%. So what I wanted to do is divide these parts over here as well. I'm going to just select one of these surfaces. I will rotate it on this side. Let me just copy this and then put it right here. Now I will just multiply this and do 4x. Do this maybe like 2 centimeters. This is fine. And then I'll just double click on those, as one of you told me in the chat earlier that is much faster. Now if I go here, it looks much more realistic and better. Josh said, when I was finding side channels where I can learn Enscape, your channel is the first one I saw, and I watched all your videos and I learned a lot. Thank you. I appreciate that, John. I definitely try to post as much content in Enscape as possible, because I believe that posting content is all about like kind of knowing what you're talking about, and I believe that Enscape is one of the fields that I know what I'm talking about, and that is the only reason why I haven't uploaded any 3ds Max videos in this channel as of now, because I do use a little bit of 3ds Max. I'm alright at it, but I'm not an expert at it, and once I become an expert at 3ds Max, I will upload a lot more 3ds Max videos as well. What you can also do, I'm not sure if you guys have actually, is anyone in the live stream that has actually purchased the Enscape Expert course? I'm sure some of you are out there. A lot of people, I mean, all of you that say that you're finding the videos that I post helpful, believe me, the value that is packed in this course is actually immense, and a lot of people have gotten a lot of new clients from this course just because of the skills that they've gotten through the course. So I'm just going to put the link in the chat right there, and then you can definitely check that out. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the rest of the image here. So what I also want to change is maybe a little bit of the back tiles. I mean the backsplash. So I'm just going to go straight into this and change the color to something a little bit darker. And this looks alright in my opinion. Now we can leave this view as it is. I can leave this custom preset as it is. I'm just going to rename it to number 1. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to duplicate this one to number 2. Now with the number 2 preset, I want to change the HDRI that I'm going to use. So I want to use an HDRI in the interior because a lot of people actually think that, or kind of get the idea that HDRIs are used only for exteriors because they cover up the horizon. You can use the sun as sun direct. I mean, you can use the brightest point as sun direction and all of that. But I think that it makes a huge difference if you also use HDRIs in your interior images, because as you will see in just a moment, a lot of the materials in the interior do reflect a lot of the colors that the HDRIs have. So I'm just going to go ahead and find an HDRI in my Enscape resources library, and I'm going to import this one, for example. As once I import that, you will be able to see that there's a difference on how the image looks between the two settings. I can also import this one. I mean, the difference is, let me just show it a little bit better to you. So let me just tone down the artificial brightness. So let's say we're using this HDRI. This will definitely have a difference between the materials that it will reflect. I've tuned in late, but how did you make the furniture material look so matte? Let me just go back to the preset that we were using earlier, and then I will get to your question right away. Let me just go here. So the material looks, I mean, the material configuration on the mat here is pretty standard, nothing too crazy. So if I just open the Enscape material editor and I choose a material here, I just made the reference 40%, the specular is at 50. Maybe I can tone up the specular a little bit, so like 60. And then this is pretty much it, how it will look. There's a modeling error over here, which I'm going to fix before I actually take the final image, which we're just going to do shortly. So I'm going to move this over here, move this straight in this line, and then something like this. And then we can take a look at the image. Okay, so what do you guys think of the final image? I know it can look better. I know there's a lot of things that can be improved, but I think it's pretty good for a live stream. Obviously, I never did this image previously. I just took it from Pinterest right before actually starting the live stream, and just went straight to it off the top of my head. So thank you everyone for joining in. I will actually take this render straight away. So I will go right here, and then maybe I can even upload it in the Instagram. So render. I can upload it on our Instagram page. If you don't follow us on Instagram, I'll leave the link in the chat right now. So it's just Instagram. You can just go at scale.3d and you can join in and find a lot of that. So watching from the Philippines, this was a big help. I hope you could do live on exterior render and composition. Thanks. Kevin Troy just said that. Yes, I'll definitely, maybe next week will be an exterior render. I'm trying to do this weekly. I'm trying to do this, maybe 1 week I'll do interior and the other week exterior, so kind of switch it, because I know there's a lot of people that do both, and a lot of times I don't want to focus a lot only on exteriors and only on interiors, because I know I myself work on both types of renders. So yeah, okay. And maybe we can also do one live stream throughout the week where I review renders. So if you want me to review renders live, and then I can just give you tips and all of that, as I put this earlier, I'm just going to put it in the chat once again. And also, just finally, before we turn down the live stream, if you haven't already, I really want you to make sure that you actually get the Enscape Expert course, because believe me, it has changed the way that a lot of people work with Enscape. And it is tremendous help for anyone who's just starting out, even if you're not very new in Enscape, even if you're at like a moderate level. Believe me, it will help you a lot. So I will leave the link of the Enscape course in the chat, and make sure you check that out, because honestly, it's one of the things that I've been working on for a long time, and it is definitely worth it. So Enscape just said, thank you so much for sharing all these tips and your knowledge with Enscape community, Mellows. We truly appreciate it, and you. Thank you very much, Enscape, and I know all of you guys work very hard for the community, and I appreciate your work, as well as the support you have given to the channel as of now. I definitely want to keep the long-term collaboration going with your team and all of that, so we'll definitely keep in touch. I want to thank everyone for joining this live stream. Make sure to stay around and turn on the notification bell, that way you're notified when I join in the next live stream as well, which will be packed with tips just like this one. And for today, I want to thank once again all of you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.